going on?
Wheels bad, this shot's good.
Okay, good.
Can't open this car down, but
Okay.
And the stronger portion of the storm, which is on the right side, is expected to track right along the South Carolina coastline. And we still have portions of places like Orangeburg County as well as Clarendon counties with the low tornado risk. That means slightly better odds as far as avoiding a tornado warning, but still I'd say anywhere along into the south and east of Lexington and Richland counties, got to keep an eye out for the opportunity at a tornado warning once we get a little later into this afternoon. So once we get into the afternoon, into this evening, that's where we start to have our winds pick up. And because of that, tropical storm warnings are in place for all of the counties that you see on your screen in yellow. And this means that tropical storm force winds are likely in all of these counties that you see in yellow. And that does include Clarendon County and Orangeburg County. All of our counties to the south and east of Columbia are included in this warning, and that means once we get into the peak time of this afternoon and this evening when we'll face impacts from Idalia, that's where we could have winds anywhere from 35 to even some gusts upwards of 50 to 60 miles per hour at times during the second half of the day. And there's a few of our counties that are under a tropical storm watch. This does include Lexington and Richland counties as well as Lee County. And with a tropical storm watch, that doesn't guarantee tropical storm force winds. However, at times a little later today, there could certainly be some gusts out there that range anywhere from 35 to even close to 50 miles per hour in places such as Lexington as well as in Columbia. So definitely got to stay on guard, especially as we get into the second half of today, later this afternoon and into this evening. And we've had team coverage all morning. I'm joined by meteorologist Tony Chivaroli. And Tony, you know what, as we get later in the day, we'll slowly start to see our conditions deteriorate, especially as heavy rain and wind starts to build into the Midlands.
Yeah, that's right, Jordan. As we continue to make that push, of course, going on, getting into the middle of this day, we are going to be seeing more of things really working to push on forward into the afternoon. And of course, as we get there, we're going to be seeing these wind gusts continuing to really kick up, getting towards a realm of where we could see 60+ mile per hour winds. It's more likely for those counties off to the south and east of Columbia, but either way you slice it, as this system starts to press its way towards us, we are going to be getting more of this. Now, it's not just lashing the coastline of South Carolina. Obviously, some of these impacts could come to us to the Midlands. The main thing, of course, we are going to see with a good deal of certainty will be the rain, as we've touched upon so much. And that's, of course, something we just want to keep stressing. The flash flooding risk is going to be the biggest one widespread, where we can see, of course, just the general range, 2 to 6 inches of rainfall, but it's, of course, the tail end, the higher end of that range with more localized downpour potential. And you couple that along with also that isolated tornado risk, which isn't just going to be reserved for the coast. It could push into our eastern viewing area as well as we settle with the current track of this system. Of course, here we go. Really starting to settle in, digging in our heels, as opposed to, of course, what we can get at into the later phases of tonight. First and foremost, that punch across the Palmetto State as we see Idalia racing up, getting towards lunchtime. We're going to be getting more of the lighter bands of rain, and then 2, 3 p.m. This is when the heavy stuff really starts to come in. So this is going to, of course, give you more of an accurate representation as we're really working to get at it. And also, the system works to speed up a little bit. So we continue to get more of these heavier bands as, of course, the eye of the storm will be, more in the way of dissipating at this point, not as defined. It's becoming a tropical storm as opposed to making landfall as a very powerful hurricane down in Florida. But, we're still getting very good after effects. This is tropical moisture, and it can total up fast. Stopping it right here. Look at this, 5 to 6 p.m. still hanging steady with a lot of heavy rainfall potential. And embedded in all this will be those isolated flash flooding risks, will be some very gusty winds that can cause some damage, especially when we're talking about trees getting knocked down, because of course we're going to see saturated soils, more in the way of rain, really ponding on roadways, pooling in yards, in surfaces, of course, where more vegetation can be uprooted easily. When you're talking about wind gusts, especially even just the 30, 40 mile an hour range, you don't need 50, 60 mile an hour gusts all the time to cause some damage. It's going to be possible, but you don't need it all the time. So we settle into this portion of the day where we're seeing all the heavy rain rolling its way through, but with a lot of current projections and the storm speeding up a little bit, look at this. Western viewing area towards the upstate. How about this? 10, 11 p.m. working to be drying up at this point, but those to the east of Columbia still working to see some impacts and could easily still be seeing flooding issues. And under the cover of darkness, never a good thing. So you still really need to be weather aware. Make sure you're staying tuned with us here until this is well out of here. And that's going to be by the time, honestly, we should be starting our sunrise show tomorrow morning, 3, 4 a.m. Obviously getting to 7, 8 in the morning, looking to actually see some clearing, some sun breaking out for the region. Still breezy, but tranquility does await us. So this is, of course, going to be a very pleasant change of pace. It gives us some time, and anyone out there who might be encountering some damage from these systems, have time to really get yourselves together, analyze that damage, and enact a plan to rectify it. Of course, as we really work to see a lot of dry weather and sun, and that's going to be the case all the way through Labor Day weekend. As we focus on the rainfall totals, this is something I've been harping on all morning. You see towards the upstate, not too much going on. Less than a half an inch of rainfall, even towards areas such as Newberry and Saluda out towards the west. But you get into Columbia, St. Matthews, North, Lexington, Camden, a lot of spots that are going to be a battleground when we're focusing on this rain potential. Getting further down to the south and east, it's still going to be a better potential all the way through the South Carolina coastline, but we can still see a little bit more of these heavy rainfall totals shift towards the north based on where some downpours do set up. So please be mindful of that, because you could still get these higher potential totals, 5, 6 inches, getting into areas such as Lexington and Columbia. Not as much for the upstate, of course, even for our western viewing area, but it's not impossible. So, in short, just stay weather aware today. Keep checking back with us for these updates, and turn around, don't drown. Always got to keep up with the reminders to not be going into flooded roadways. If you see, of course, water ponding somewhere, whether you be on your own 2 feet or in a vehicle, you always need to find a drier road. You don't want to be trying to drive through it. Sometimes it always could look a little bit shallower than it actually is. So you got to be on your toes with this. If you don't have to be driving around later in this, please do not. Stay home, stay safe. Quick check of that first alert 10-day. As we make our move past this first alert weather day, we are working to see things drastically calming down as we get past the very early morning hours of Thursday. A couple breezy winds, few little lasting downpours, and then the smooth sailing sets in. We're going to get through this Wednesday together, but a gorgeous Labor Day weekend awaits.